Episode 11. The Fields of Carnuntum. The next day, the child explained to his father all that had happened in the mother's story. The child told him how he had learned of the hidden world of Inanimati, where all the objects and devices, buildings and structures that we know have secret lives full of action, love, courage, and heroism. The colossal triumphal arches that we perceive as stolid monuments in our world stand guard at the border between the realities of animati and inanimati. The strongest of these, Trajan, learns from Squinch the ubiquity of the advancing army of Gothic archers led by their king, Golgothicus. Only a few Roman arch defenders stand in their way. Golgothicus was the lucky survivor of a meteor impact that warped his glass rosone into a powerful lens that can focus sunlight so strongly he can now create an army of bricks out of mud. This thrill of creating, unknown in the Inanimati world, infused Golgothicus with new dreams of power. He desires to conquer and repurpose his foes to fulfill his sinister intentions. His bricks obey his every command and on the battlefield form giant walls called muri. Trajan wished to negotiate with Golgothicus privately, but the High Council of Grand Master Archers under Septimus Severus refused and sent an army led by Colosseo Maximus to defeat the Gothics. Squinch gives Trajan reason to fear they have been overwhelmed by the bricks of Golgothicus. Trajan decided to bring another army of Roman archers under Colosseo Pompey to their aid and sends a message to his nephew, Arky Arch, a small triumphal arch he hopes can slip past the enemy unnoticed. Arky and his other young Inanimati friends, Iphi the small tower and Beta the mechanical egg beater, meet Trajan and his fellow triumphal archers in a secret rendezvous at Skull Rock, where Arky is given a message for Colosseo Pompey and a means, called Calculus Piegatus, to travel through time and space to reach him. Before they can depart, they are attacked by a gargoyle sent by Golgothicus, and the three young friends escape with Calculus Piegatus and arrive unexpectedly in their own futures. They wake up in a jungle. Arky has grown much larger, but Iphi and Beta are surprised that their future selves look quite different than they had imagined. Inanimati like them do not just grow older, they change in complexity. The little egg beater has now become a lawnmower, and Iphi has transformed into a tall, graceful tower. Piegatus, however, has been captured by a tribe of blue crow-apes known as crapes, led by their queen, Suzette, who attack Arky and his friends. The queen, challenged by its measurement capabilities, hurls the traveling device into a river. The three adventurers jump in after it and are sucked through time and space, arriving to their dismay on the barren, snow-swept ice plains of a glacier. Calculus Piegatus, Piggy, has vanished once again, and in their search they enlist the help of a huge tensegrity tower called Bucky, who patrols the snowfields. Bucky proves invaluable when they discover that it is being taken into the ice tunnels of the Snow Stooges. When rescuing Piggy from these tiger-like polar bears, Iphi discovers that thousands of Calculi Piegati are being held prisoner in the frozen ice caves. The Snow Stooges battle Arky for their captive, and the adventurers barely escape with Calculus Piegatus. They vow to return one day to free his brethren. Bucky saves Beta from freezing solid, but risks his own life in doing so. With the help of Calculus Piegatus, Arky and Iphi revive Bucky, who sends them on their way, hopefully this time to deliver the message to Colosseo Pompey. "That's as far as we've gotten," the child explained, "but I hope Piggy gets them to the right place this time." That evening the child was ready for bed early. "Should we continue with our story of Arky and his friends?" the mother asked. "Oh yes," replied the child. "I told father all about it, and now I want to know what happened to Trajan and Golgothicus." "Yes, let's leave Arky and his friends behind for a moment. Did you remember what was about to happen when we last left Trajan?" She settled in next to her child and put her feet up on the bedspread. "Trajan was expecting to fight Golgothicus and his army, but they had friends who were going to fight him first, other archers. Squinch told him something like that. Yes, there were 2 brave triumphal archers standing firm to stop the invasion of the Gothic army. The first of these was defeated at Saint-Remy by the new tactics of the Moori. Do you remember? Trajan told Arky about that at Skull Rock. The child nodded, so she continued. The other one was stationed at Carnuntum, which in the world of the Inanimati appears as a barren, windswept plain north of Trajan's city. There the battle raged for days, and when it was over— "Did Golgothicus win?" the child asked fearfully. "Hush now and pull up the covers. I will tell you how it really was." The plains of Carnuntum, north of the city, were charred and smoking. The rubble of hundreds of broken Roman arches lay strewn about. In the center of the battlefield, the shattered hulk of a once proud triumphal arch stood smoldering. Its entablature was almost entirely gone. Golgothicus surveyed his victory. The Hydentor arch had been a formidable enemy, unique in its 4-legged plan, and able to move much faster than he had expected. But his army of Moori could not be outflanked, and in the end the masses of bricks had overwhelmed the Roman archers and their leader. They would parade 1,000 keystones in front of them when this war was over. He turned to leave the way he had come. The cohorts of Gothic archers clustered around him. Tall, thin, and delicate, they had stayed out of the battle until the commander's loyal Moori had smothered almost all of the resistance under waves of relentless bricks. Now his lieutenant urged his leader to continue his march on the city. "We have won a great victory, master, but why are we retreating? Why do we not go on to take the city?" he asked. Golgothicus would not be deterred. "Word has come to me that what I search for has been found. Another hollow rock has fallen from the skies, but 3 days north from here. I have ordered my reserve Moori to encircle it and allow nothing to come near it until I have arrived. The city can wait. They have no defense against us. Come, we march north. First we must claim my prize." But the spies of Golgothicus were mistaken. The distance was further to trek than they had expected, and it was a week before he and his army arrived at the center of another large pit blasted into the ground. A great ring of Moori had encircled the crater, and in it the broken casing of the fallen egg-shaped rock lay in pieces. There was no sign of its inhabitant. Golgothicus was furious. Only the most senior of the Gothic archers in his bodyguard dared to ask him what had happened. "The fools!" his leader bellowed. "They have awakened a cannibal voodoo robot and let it escape." He drew his lieutenant close and whispered his rage so that no one else could hear him. "I need their powers. The skill to make is their gift from the skies. Without them, there is no repurposing of the Animati." He looked at the wall of Moori. Just as he feared, there was a large irregular hole torn through the layers of interwoven bricks. Scattered ranks of stretchers and headers, soldiers and sailors lay about the break. Something with great speed or power had forced his way past the guardian wall. Golgothicus nodded in admiration. These same walls of bricks had just contained one of the most powerful of all the triumphal archers and destroyed an army of Arky Romani. Certainly these beings from the egg-shaped rocks were not to be trifled with. Before sending his troops to scour the lands for a clue to the whereabouts of the robotic warrior, he briefed them about their quarry. "Exercise caution, Gothic archers. This device is not from our world of Inanimati. I have first seen its brethren in the wreckage of its egg home when it fell from the skies and almost destroyed me. Only after making many thousands of bricks from the clay of the crater did I excavate deep enough to discover its hiding place. It was damaged from the great fall. For many weeks I observed it as it stirred to life. It told me it is from a great tribe of robots, a type of mechanisti that can simulate the Animati world and devour them while it does so." The whole of his troops gasped as one in amazement. What a powerful weapon this was! Golgothicus looked at the hole the robot had made in his wall of muri. The ragged edges were vaguely in the shape of an animati being called the Man. Well, he thought, it cannot have gotten too far. "Begin the search," he commanded. "It will be heading in a line towards our homeland mountains to link up with its damaged brother. If we hurry, we can catch it yet." He ordered his hordes of bricks to repair themselves and lead the way. In an instant the scattered blocks sprang into their places as they began their wave-like maneuvering that allowed them to glide across the land as fast as an animati could run. Golgothicus knew he would need to make another plan in case they failed, but it was really only a matter of time now. Soon, the age of the inanimati as helpless puppets to the whims of purpose would end, and they would become makers and masters of their own fates, just like the animati were. Perhaps it would better be said, he thought to himself, that I will become the master of their fates. And while his troops looked on in amazement, the master of the Gothic armies of the north suddenly laughed a deep, hollow laugh. There was silence in the bedroom as the mother tucked the covers under the chin of her child and turned out the light. At first she thought sleep had already come to her precious one, but then a small voice said, "I don't like Golgothicus at all." "Yes," the mother agreed, "he's a wicked one, and his bricks seem invincible, don't they? But I'm sure Trajan can defeat them, with some help from Arky and his friends, of course." "Who are the sailors and soldiers in the story, Mummy? Are they people in the story now?" "No, my dear. That is how bricklayers who know bricks call them. A brick can stand in many ways in a wall, depending on how it poses, narrow side forward or leaning down, or maybe on its end. The bricklayers give them different names. Funny names, I've always thought. But now it is time for sleep." She had hoped that her child would be satisfied with her response, but there was one last sleepy question that showed she would need to explain it all some time in the future. "How do you know that, Mummy? Were you a bricklayer before you met Daddy?" "Almost," she replied, and softly shut the door.